the 360 podcast, an all-around look at student-centered education. I'm Laura Gellin.
And I'm Adrian Pumphrey. And this week we continue talking with Park Tudor's counselors, Erin Nixon, Sarah Cook, and Cassie Nelson-Craig. We continue to chat with them about how best to support students' mental health during this difficult time. Enjoy the episode. I feel like we need to give some airtime to the fact that the masks prevent some of that communication, right? We're missing out on some significant nonverbal cues. I wanted to ask you guys about ideas, especially for that student that likes to sit at the edge of the room and not say anything and just wants to struggle in silence, perhaps will not knock on your door. And as teachers, it can be, especially with masks on, can be really difficult to spot when a kid is struggling. So I wanted to ask you your advice on signs to look out for, especially 2021 with masks on, that things we should look out for, perhaps different from things that we may have looked out for before in terms of the kid that's having a hard time.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind for me is setting up some way, and it doesn't have to be a huge time investment. It can be something really simple and quick that communicates to you as a teacher where your kids are at. I work a lot with the zones of regulation in classrooms down here in the lower school, but so they can indicate, based on which zone they're in, and a quick color note on their, or little thing on their desk. But it can even be I really love scaling questions, on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being it's terrible, awful, the worst it's ever been, 10 being absolutely fantastic, you wouldn't change a thing, 5 right in the middle. Where are you at? And I mean, they can be it could be on the you can use, there's ways to do scaling on your devices and things that would go directly to you as the teacher. You can do a quick scan of where your kids are at and see if everyone's on the lower end. Maybe you take a little bit of time to do some deep breathing and kind of spend that time to get the kids in a better headspace. Or maybe you see like there's one kid who's like really low, and so you take a minute to like pull them aside and see if maybe they need to come and talk to one of us, or but doing those check-ins and really like investing in just a few moments at the start of every class to just kind of see where your class is at. And it just informs you as a teacher how ready they are for what you have planned even in your curriculum. Like if you're going to be introducing some new material and stuff, but you recognize that everyone is kind of low on the scale, it might not be the day to do that fully. And maybe you need to, reassess that and get them to a place where they're going to be better able to receive that curriculum. So I think that, and I think at home you can do the same thing. I think parents can do that too. They can, do those check-ins and see where their kids are at and see how they are on that scale, and then, see if there is a little bit more of a need to spend some quality time or to do something with that, child and be there for them. So.
Yeah, I think that's great, Sarah. At the middle school level, we were doing check-ins while we were learning remotely, and those were really valuable to see how kids are doing. And it was like a Google response form. So just because we're back in person doesn't mean we can't do stuff like that still. I think for that child that you're talking about who might be a little more quiet and you're not sure, sits in the corner and doesn't say much, a community approach. So everybody is having a chance will help them feel more brave, I guess, in sharing how they feel as opposed to being singled out. But at the same time, every child wants to be seen. So it can never hurt to say to, how are you doing? Are you all right? Just, I think even just the littlest things can make a big impact and help a child feel like someone's noticing them. And I also think this just keeps kind of coming into my mind is, I think that child would probably, yes, we are all experiencing chronic stress. Yes, we are in a pandemic, and yes, that changes things, but also kids are kids. And I think masks or not, don't sell yourself short on your ability to determine whether or not a kid is struggling just because, we're in a different situation and they're masked. I think a lot of our teachers have this intuition. You've always had it. And it doesn't really change much just because, we have masks over their faces. We can still tell these things and personalities come through masked or not masked. And so I think just rely on your intuition and don't let all the extra stressors make you, I think taking, especially for me, I'm kind of like, I tend to, I don't know, I like to end a session with like a pat on the back or something, I'm not, the ability to not really connect physically is a challenge when you're trying to comfort a child, but just with your words and with your interest, you can really communicate maybe exactly what they need, which is maybe just a little, more attention or a little filling their cup a little bit more is something I like to say, but yeah.
Do you have any ideas in terms of for parents? I'm thinking, I'm listening. I feel like I'm listening as both a teacher and a parent right now. And I know that when you got little ones, it could be, we play outside together, we play chalk together, let's just sit on the couch and snuggle. But I'm thinking if I had teenagers don't want to do those things. So for parents of teenagers, what are some things, do you guys have any ideas for parents of teenagers of what they might do to kind of fill the cup of their kids?
Yeah, so sometimes I have more creative ideas than other days, and I also just kind of want to name and normalize that sometimes teachers and parents don't have it themselves, so they can't give it to their kids, I speak as a parent and a teacher counselor as well, and some days I don't have it for sweet Iris, my 7-year-old, and I'm like, yeah, mama did overreact there. I think the repair when you don't act how you would want to, I think the repair is important, and just naming, I think them seeing us make mistakes. And so I think some of the fill the cup is when we normalize that we've got it together enough, and we're also not okay all the time, and we don't have to really share that where they know the content of adult things going on in our life, because that's for adults, but we can share it when we make a mistake. And you can tell your teenager, man, at work today, somebody said something and I really didn't respond how I wanted to. And this, the kid might kind of like roll their eyes like, big deal, mom, going to my room. But they're listening. They are listening. They're waiting. They're watching. So I think, sometimes just the modeling of how we think it's to be in the world. I know, in my own house, there's not the separation, especially when we were learning online, but even otherwise, there's not the separation that you would normally want between work life and home life, So I really have to watch my boundaries around that. Like, why am I checking my email again at 8:30? Nothing is happening that I can't attend to tomorrow, but yeah, it's there. So, I'll say that out loud. And I think parents of teenagers can say those kinds of things, to help teenagers notice, my parent is human, my parent's having an experience. Maybe if I'm having this experience, it'll be okay as well. I think a lot of things are better after a 10-minute walk. I love, therapy. I'm a big fan, but also I tell kids and parents, if they're willing to go play with their dog or walk outside or get the mail or, you know, walk over to their friend's house and wave from the window. Like, just encourage that. Anything where they get some vitamin, is it D? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes. Anything where they get that, anything where their body is moving is so important for a reset, and model that. Hey, you know what? I was going to make dinner, but at first I'm going to get on the treadmill for 10 minutes, you know? Model your resistance. If you're feeling like, I don't want to do this, but I'm about to do it. I mean, I think a lot of those things can go a long way as we kind of, you know, we might just be one little bitty step ahead of the people that need us to be together, you know, but most days probably we are one little bitty step ahead, you know, and it's enough.
Well, and I think also just the message that like parents are there, like just, you know, that you're there if and when needed, and that you're going to be there. And like that is felt by all of our kids, you know, more than we know. So I think that that is a huge thing. And so just the willingness and, you know, the availability is a really important and an impactful piece.
Yeah, just quickly, like 2 tricks that I, you know, kind of share with parents that are up my sleeve for getting a teenager to open up a little bit more. One is similar to what Cassie was saying. Start talking about yourself in your own day without asking any questions, and just see if, you know, that information can lead to more sharing. And then another is, you know, teenagers, middle school kids, high school kids, a lot of times are more interested in their relationships with their friends. They're just wired that way developmentally, than they are with their families during that part of their lives. And ask how their friends are doing. Don't even ask how they're doing, because you're going to get a lot of information about how they're doing on how they answer that question. So if you know a couple good friends, or you know, or just in general, ask how they're coping. How are your friends coping? What's the hardest thing for them right now? It's kind of a good trick, actually.
I'm gonna file that one away. Like, that's a keeper. I mean, you guys are all giving us amazing advice and amazing tips, but like that one in particular, a couple of years, I'm definitely gonna need it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, we're going to be coming back to you guys when our kids are teenagers. We're going to knocking on your door. I know that often the way we care for others starts with how we care for ourselves, right? If we're taking good care of ourselves, we're in a better place to look after other people. Do you have any good advice in terms of self-care right now, and just making sure that we can be getting through this the best that we can, acknowledging that you know, adults are having a rough time right now too. So yeah, any tips from your end on that?
Yeah, I love Cassie's non-negotiables, and to me that also goes into like setting boundaries. And I think that it's really important to have healthy boundaries. And I think, you know, and Erin touched on this too, and Cassie, you know, I think there is so much that has changed in terms of like, you know, when we've been online, and some of that, there isn't that clear boundary of like, oh, I've left school, you know. And so I think that there is this shift that, you know, has been felt, and I've felt it too, where it's like, I feel, you know, the need to check email constantly, and you know, all of those things. And so, you know, to like take a step back and remember to set those boundaries, to make sure that you set aside time to go for a walk, get outside, get fresh air, you know, even just like watch, you know, a TV show that you enjoy, and do it without, you know, any guilt. Just set aside that time, or whatever it is that you need, but set those boundaries, make sure that you're doing things that you enjoy, that fill you up, and connect. And I think, you know, practicing what we preach, it's, you know, being able to say like, I'm really struggling today, like, you know, or I just don't have anything in the tank, I'm not motivated, I am, you know, having a hard time. And I think, you know, to be able to voice that, and to normalize that, and have that be okay, and have where you're at be all right, because we are all feeling those things, is really important, and actually is a really great way to sort of release that, and not hold that in, or let that fester within you. So those are big ones for me, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find myself often trying to just normalize my own feelings. I mean, one story last spring when we first went into e-learning, I have a really specific memory of being on a Zoom with the 8th grade team for 8th grade team meeting. And they asked me a question, and just in the moment, I didn't know what we were going to do or how and I said something like, I've never felt so, what did I say? Professionally confused in my career, and as I said it, I realized everybody on that Zoom felt that way. And I was feeling that way about counseling services, but everybody felt that way. And it was a vulnerable moment for me to just say, I don't know, you guys, I don't know yet. But also it was really comforting, because no one was like, what do you mean you don't know? Everybody was like, I don't know either. And so just accepting that, as Cassie said, a few minutes ago, we've never been through a global pandemic before. I mean, even just being on a Zoom a matter of, a year ago was like the weirdest thing ever. And now it's like, I have a question for you. Can you Zoom real quick? I mean, it's, things are rapidly changing. And I don't think that you can always feel at the top of your game. I mean, personally, just to be honest, I've lowered my expectations this year quite a bit. I want to always be there for kids. And for that, I have to do a lot of what Sarah's saying, fill my own cup, make sure I'm setting good boundaries and trying to take the best care of myself as I can, so that I can be there for my own children and our kids here at school. But as far as the other fluffy extra stuff, sometimes I find myself getting into a feeling like I should be doing more, but I don't know that, 2021 is the year. And so trying to manage my expectations of myself so that I can best be there for what my main role is has been really important for me this year.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure I have much, to add. I think it really is a day by day for me. In some ways, I think the pandemic, it has been permission giving into terms of when we go back to, or go into our, I don't know what, new normal or whatever we're calling it now, when we're not doing all these things in the same way. It's like, what gets to stay? Like, does ballet get to stay? Does this extra meeting get to stay? Or have we decided as a family that no, that doesn't get to stay? So I do think it's permission giving right now that everything shut down. So I get to think through my priorities. I would have liked to do that on my own time in my own way, but life doesn't allow that. It really has opened up to how little we have control over. And so it's like our circle has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So it's more like, okay, I have control over doing laundry. So I will have some clothes to wear today, and a couple other things, drinking some water and being kind to myself. Sometimes that's the whole day. Sometimes it's other things. I will say I found myself maybe because I have a 7-year-old that likes to do art, it seems like some kids have found that comforting here too. So I do think something unique happens in our brain when we're creative. And I know that a lot of the bigger scale parts of that have been taken away from us, but I started cross stitching. I don't know, but it's working, it's like neat, like little sew by sew. That's not everybody's thing, but sometimes thinking through, something creative has been useful. And I also did read an article the other day where it was talking about I think my husband actually shared it with me. He may have shared it with you actually, Erin, but it was talking about how a reframe that can sometimes work is not, I have to do this, but I get to do this. Sometimes, friends, it really doesn't work to reframe in my brain. Sometimes I have to do this and I am very mad, you know, but sometimes it helps to say, you know, I get to do this, because I do remember I get to come to work. Like, I get to like hang out with kids that are fun. I get to talk to parents and offer them counselor resources. You know, there are some pieces of you know, sometimes a little reframe can be helpful. So yeah.
That's, yeah, all of the above was hugely useful. And unfortunately we're quickly running out of time, but I just wanted to thank you guys for everything you do. Because I also want to acknowledge that you guys are human beings and you'll have, you know, bad days too. So I appreciate you coming to work each day and helping this community just be better off as a result. So thank you for everything, and thank you for joining us this morning. It's been really great to hear your wisdom. So I appreciate you and appreciate everything you do. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That was Park Tudor's counselors, Sarah Cook, Erin Nixon, and Cassie Nelson-Craig. We hope you get to try out some of these strategies for yourself with the students that you are around. In the meantime, we hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you again soon.